The story of the film begins with a mechanic named Bradley, who comes with his car to his place of work in order to repair it, but he is surprised that the employer informs him that he has been dismissed from work because of the economic crisis. Bradley took his things from the workplace and drove back to his house and saw his wife talking on the phone inside the car, so he began to suspect that his wife was cheating on him with someone else. Then he went to his wife's car and told her that they had dismissed him from work because of the economic crisis and that he should look for another job. During the conversation, he saw marks on her neck, so he asked her about the reason for these marks, but she did not answer him. So he takes the phone from her to discover that there is another person she was calling, so Bradley was in a state of shock and asked her to get out of the car and enter the house. And when his wife got out of the car, Bradley started to get angry and broke the car's windows and its things out of his anger and jealousy. When he entered the house, he spoke to his wife and asked her to tell the truth and the details of the betrayal. So his wife decided to confess to treason and told him that she had been in a relationship with the other person for 90 days and said that the reason for this was that you were not interested in me and I was at work all the time. So she admitted her mistake and told him that I apologize because you work for us and I betrayed you and asked him to forgive her for her mistake. Indeed, Bradley decided to forgive her and they decided to start a new life away from problems. A few days later, Bradley went to a guy named Jill to get a job. Gil is Bradley's friend and Bradley's job is to deliver drugs to the places that Gil wants him to deliver. When Bradley's wife finds out about this, she refuses completely. But he insisted that he work because at the present time it is difficult to get a job. After a long time has passed, we see Bradley continuing his drug delivery work and delivering drugs from Jill to the places he asks to be delivered to. And when the work is over, Bradley returns home, and in the meantime, his financial condition has improved, and he can improve his financial condition and obtain a very large house. Bradley buys a car for his wife, and his wife is good and does not make the mistakes she used to make in the past. His wife is pregnant, and their lives are very happy and normal. Bradley starts talking to his wife about the future and the things they will do for their child. But suddenly Bradley gets a call from his friend Jill and asks him to come to him as soon as possible. When Bradley arrives at Jill's house, Jill introduces him to a person named Eliezer. Two people from a gang came with Eliezer, and they are Roman and Pedro, and these are the most skilled and best two people in his gang. He told him that these two people would accompany him when he delivered the drugs. Their main task is to accompany Bradley, but Bradley is dismissive of this way of working. He told them that he could easily have been arrested by the police because of them, but Gil managed to convince him to accompany these two people to him. Jill tells him that if he agrees, he will give him 3 months leave when his wife gives birth to their child, and tells him that he will give him plenty of money for him and his wife. Finally, Bradley decided to agree, but he has one condition, which is to be the leader of the group. Indeed, Bradley's condition has been approved, and at night the 3 people go to perform their mission. Their mission was to bring bags of drugs under the sea, and they actually got on the boat, and the captain was Bradley, and they went by boat to the middle of the sea, and suddenly they stopped. We watch Pedro prepare himself to jump under the sea to retrieve the facts. When Pedro went down to the middle of the sea, he saw a chest that looked like a treasure chest and was chained so that it would not rise to the top of the sea. And Pedro managed to break the chains and take all the drugs. Then he returned to Pedro without drawing attention to him. When they arrived at the port, each person took a quantity of drugs with them. Bradley suspected that there were police watching them, so he threw the bag. Bradley asked the 2 people with him to throw the bags and told them that there was a police watching us, but they refused. They tell him that they must deliver these drugs to Eliezer at any cost. And when Bradley insists on throwing the drugs, Pedro comes and beats him up. Roman, take Pedro to the garage so they can escape. Bradley remained standing and watching the place and did not go with them. When the 2 people reached the garage, a police car comes towards them. Bradley decided to get back in the boat and escape. But Bradley is surprised that there is a policeman coming towards him. Bradley thinks in order to deceive the police and prove to them that he is not with them, so he pulls out his gun and hits Pedro and kills him. He told the police that he intended to help them. Roman surrenders, so the police arrest him, and then they return to Bradley and arrest him as well. When he arrives at a police station, the investigator interrogates Bradley. The investigator asks Bradley why he is in this place, at this particular time. Bradley tells the investigator that he was just walking on the sea. He had nothing to do with the right of the 2 defendants, but the investigator discovered in his own way that Bradley was with them. He also knew that Bradley was a smart person and managed to deceive the police, but the police did not have any evidence towards Bradley to prove that he was with them. But despite that, the court sentenced him to 7 years in prison for premeditated murder. And then he was sent to prison and the prison guards examined him fully medically, and after a short period a big man comes and takes Bradley to his cell. And when he reached his cell, he met a guard named Andre and explained to him the rules of the prison. And one of those rules is, when the bell rings, everybody gets out of their cells. This is in order to register their names and make sure that they are in prison and that no one escapes. Then Bradley goes to his cell, and in the middle of the night the bell rings. And all the prisoners go out of their rooms and the guards check the cells, but Bradley was not present because he was not used to this situation. Minutes later, he comes out of his cell, and when the prison guard knew, he punished him and told him that he had to abide by the prison rules, and without any reaction or discussion from Bradley, he agreed to the guard's words. Now we go back to Bradley's house and watch his wife sleep. Suddenly, she hears someone inside her house. Bradley's wife was very afraid. When she goes to lock the door, she gets electrocuted and faints. Someone comes and kidnaps her to an unknown location. The next day, the prison guards ask Bradley to go to the prison clerk in her office. And this employee told him that his wife's doctor wants to talk to him. And when Bradley meets the doctor threatens him. Bradley knows that this doctor is working with Eliezer's gang. He told him that his boss Eliezer had lost $3 million because of his failure in the mission, and also told him that it was you who killed Pedro. After talking to him about this issue, he showed him the picture of his wife while she was with Eliezer's gang. And he told him that he would abort the child from her in the event that he did not accept the condition that would be asked of him, and the condition was that he kill a person named Chris. Killing Chris was in exchange for the lives of his wife and child. And Chris is an existing prisoner, but he is far from Bradley and is located in cell number 99, so Bradley agreed to the terms and asked them not to reach his wife and child. And when Bradley came back, guard Andre was with him. He took off his shoe and hurt Andre and the other guards. And he did this thing in order to cause chaos in the prison and transfer him to the prison where Chris is. Indeed, Bradley is being transferred to the prison he wanted in order to complete the mission by killing Chris. Then they take him to his cell, which is number 59. The new cell in this prison is not clean and different from the previous prison he was in. Bradley was trying to resist the stench and filth in this prison, but he couldn't resist, so he took off his shirt and put it over his mouth. Meanwhile, the officer comes to Bradley's room and takes him to the resting place. Here, Bradley gets to know a prisoner named Dirk, so Bradley decides to ask him about prisoner Chris. Chris was a prisoner and his cell number is 99, but Dirk tells him that he does not know this prisoner, so Bradley decides to go by himself and get to know Chris. Indeed, Bradley went to a group exercising and started asking them about him, and this group thought that Bradley was weak, so they started bullying him. And suddenly Bradley gets into a fight with them and eliminates them, and in the meantime the guard comes and shoots fire in the air to scare them and stop them. Bradley does not care about the guard, so he hits the guards, but in the end Bradley was controlled. Bradley was transferred to the punishment cell, and this cell is located underground. Before entering the cell, they put him in a suit for electrocution. When they brought him into the cell, he saw shards of glass. Bradley was a fait accompli. Meanwhile, we see Bradley's wife in a bad condition, and the doctor comes to threaten her with aborting her child. And his friend from Korea, who is also an abortion doctor, comes with him. We watch Bradley in prison serving his sentence. But Bradley started shouting Chris's name to know his whereabouts. Suddenly a guard comes to him and tells him that there is no person with that name. He was shocked by the guard's response, and thought of his wife, who was in a dangerous condition, and that he had to carry out the task. Meanwhile, a group of prison guards comes and takes him to a basement where other prisoners are. And when Bradley enters the basement, he watches Eliezer, and he knows that the doctor was lying to him and that there is no person named Chris, but he just wanted him to go to Eliezer's place. Eliezer tells Bradley that he lost $3 million because of him, and also Bradley was the one who killed Pedro and was also the reason Eliezer went to prison. Eliezer tells Bradley that he will exact revenge on him. Eliezer's friends take revenge on Bradley, and because of the severe beating Bradley, who was unable to resist. Then Eliezer showed a picture of Bradley's wife and told him that she was just as weak as him. After completing his torture, the guards come and take him to his place. He knows that the prison guards were collaborating with Eliezer's gang. Suddenly, Bradley becomes intolerant and beats the guards present. When he got rid of the guards, he returned to Eliezer's place. And when Eliezer saw him, he was shocked. Bradley beats Eliezer's guards without mercy, leaving Eliezer alone without protection. Bradley takes control of Eliezer and grabs him by the neck. Bradley asked Eliezer to send a message to the doctor to free his wife, but Eliezer refused, so Bradley beat him. Because of the severe beating, Eliezer carried out Bradley's request and called the doctor to seize his wife, so the doctor and the Korean who was with him sent his wife to the house of Bradley's friend Jill. Meanwhile, Jill, when he watches them, takes his weapon and hits the doctor and the Korean who is with him. Also, his wife, Bradley, takes the weapon to eliminate them. Jill calls Bradley, and his wife talks to him and checks on her. Bradley talks to his wife and tells her that he will not be able to see their child, and tells her that he will die, and when his wife hears this, she cries and she regrets that she has wronged him because he is the person who sacrificed his life for her. Then Bradley hangs up with his wife and returns to Eliezer's room and beats him until he is killed and disposed of. This is because Bradley does not want Eliezer to harm his wife and child by him. Unfortunately for Bradley, the prison guards come along with the officer in charge. The prison director shoots Bradley and kills him, and the life of Bradley, the person who sacrificed his life for the sake of his wife and child, ends.